There are few more successful business figures in Australia than Gina Rinehart, and now the mining magnate is out to strengthen her stake in media. The West Australian billionaire has forked out $200 million to double her interests in Fairfax Media. Many observers believe Gina Rinehart is seeking to make her mark on public debate and use Fairfax newspapers to do it. Hayden Cooper reports.
When the share market closed last night, it was soon clear that a big move was afoot. Australia's richest person was dabbling in her new hobby, buying up big and changing the face of Australia's media landscape.
She's been building up her media interests, and it won't be the end of it either. There'll be a lot more to come.
She's trying to get influence through newspapers and the media, and if that works, she'll be a great deal more powerful.
I think she's driven. I think she's very, very focused.
Gina Rinehart is the nation's most successful businesswoman, a mining industry leader, and in recent years, a growing power in the media.
She already is one of the richest people in the world, and she will get richer. The asset base she has is directly linked to the growth of China. So as long as China keeps growing, she'll keep getting richer. What she now wants is more influence in the public debate in Australia, particularly when it comes to matters like taxation, land access, the ability to bring in low-cost labour to develop her mines, and ports, and she is going to have a railway as well. So she's going to be the whole shooting match, and I think we're just seeing the start of Gina the Skyrocket.
The overnight move puts the Rinehart stake at 10% of Fairfax, but she's rumoured to want more, as much as 15%. The increase could give her a seat in the boardroom. So is this business or is it politics?
So I'd like you to give her a really warm welcome, everybody.
This is Gina Rinehart in 2010, fighting hard against the federal government's mining tax.
What do we need to achieve more investment in WA? Axe the tax!
And urging the media to join her cause.
What should our West Australian newspaper be saying? Axe the tax! Axe the tax!
Last year she bought 10% of Channel 10, and some see her influence in its programming since.
I'm Andrew Bolt, and this is the Bolt Report.
So is this a play for more political clout in the pages of the Sydney Morning Herald, The Age and the Financial Review?
She bought 4% of Fairfax about a year ago and 10% of 10. She spent something like $300 million for the pair of those investments, and she's lost half her money. So I don't think she's doing it for business purposes. She's doing it because she wants to say.
Ron Manners is a family friend of Gina Rinehart and her late father, Lang Hancock. He too works in the WA mining sector and says this move is about standing up for an industry.
Gina's pretty busy, you know, without all this stuff, the need to get involved in another industry like the media. But I think she senses there's a vacuum of the resource industry's leadership in Australia, and she is just stepping into that vacuum because there's not much happening. Apart from a couple of other notable people, you tell me, who are the leaders of the mining industry? Who are they? They're virtually invisible.
It's more than political. It's influencing the entire economic debate in Australia. I think perhaps people in the southeast corner of Australia really are yet to come to grips with the fact that the entire future of this country in the short to medium term resides in the north and the west. And that's where the money is being created, the jobs are being created, and where the future of Australia lies. And her view seems to be that the political debate is still centred on propping up failing car manufacturers and other smokestack industries, and not enough is being given in recognition of where the future lies.
There are, of course, differing opinions on just what this means for the Fairfax empire and its coverage, and whether the Rinehart factor will show through in print.
Of course it is. If you're a director of a company and you're unhappy with the way an editor's behaving, you can really thump the table and cause quite a bit of angst. It may not work immediately, it may take time, but if you are the biggest shareholder and you have a seat on the board, you will be heard.
I would think that she's most unlikely to be able to sway the editorial policies of the newspaper and to slant it in a different direction. I don't think she'll have that many friends inside the boardroom anyway, And I think there's always been a huge tradition of independence at Fairfax newspapers, and any board is going to find it difficult to tell the editor and the staff what to do. And I don't think it's going to be a united board behind Gina, frankly.
Media ownership is already on the government's radar. A public interest test for such transactions is being considered.
We run the risk here that Rupert Murdoch and Gina Rinehart could control the print media right across Australia. And that is a bad thing for democracy, regardless of who is doing that. If you have a couple of rich people using it as their mouthpiece, that is a real problem.
But this deal is already done. Gina Rinehart is now on the verge of becoming the largest shareholder at Fairfax. And it might not be the end of the raid.
Quite possibly. She could buy it with, not petty cash, I've used that expression before, but she could buy it with loose change, put it that way. She is a very, very, very wealthy person.
If she doesn't get her way with 15%, if Gina can't influence the policies of the paper, does she then move to a full takeover? She's got the money to do it. She could buy Fairfax 10 times over and still have change. Would she want to? I don't know. I suspect if she tried, there would be a huge public outcry and she'd get herself into the mother and father of all fights.
And it turns out it wasn't the end of her interest. Late today, Gina Rinehart's stake in Fairfax rose to around 13%. Hayden Cooper with that report.